So typically, I think we as a real estate industry, we overcomplicate this business way too much. And what I mean by that is this. So write down contacts equal contracts. And quite frankly, it's that simple. If you would have doubled the amount of contacts you had last year, being that if it's prospecting, lead follow up, your sphere of influence, leads, but if you talk to twice as many people, would you have sold twice as many homes? And the answer to that is, of course, yes. So the number one thing that we need to be doing in our real estate mortgage career, in our sales career, is having more conversations. And one of the things that affect that, and probably the biggest thing affect that, is our schedule. So our schedule needs to be concentrated and built to support a high level of conversations. So I'm going to have you write down ABCD, ABCD of our business. And A represents the things that we're doing that we make money at. These are, if you would, like an attorney, these are billable hours. B represents the things that create A. C represents the things that can be delegated to others, but they are important for our business, but however, they don't create business. And D are the dumb things that we need to remove from our schedule, dumb things that we do every single day that actually are not getting us anywhere. So let's look at those A's. So A's are these activities. So this would be, if you're a realtor, this would be a listing presentation. This would be negotiating contracts. This would be working with buyers, showing homes. And underneath the working with buyers, however, I would like to clarify what a definition of a buyer is. There's three things that a buyer must have to qualify as a buyer. The very first one would be highly motivated. Second is realistic, and third is has the means. So if they're not motivated, or they're not realistic, or they don't have cash, or they can't get financing, they're not truly a buyer. They're actually a waste of time. So when I said buyers, I meant highly motivated, realistic, and have the means. So let's look at that again. It is negotiating contracts, listing properties, going on a listing presentation, working with buyers. And if you are a team leader or run a company, the fourth one would be recruiting appointments. B are the things that cause A to happen. So these are the things that we need to do in our schedule every single day to create the money-paying activities. And that would, quite frankly, be lead follow-up. And that's your past clients, sphere of influence, any type of leads. Basically, it's that database. So it's lead follow-up, people that we know, people that have reached out to us, people that we have paid for. That's in our database. And the second one is prospecting. Now, the definition of prospecting is this. I'm speaking to somebody I've never spoken to before. These are new conversations. Sharing what I do for a living, so that would be real estate sales or mortgage or whatever it might be, and asking if they need my assistance. These are new conversations. So A is our billable hours. That's listing appointments, working with buyers, and negotiating contracts. B is prospecting and lead follow-up. C is everything else in your business that's important. That'd be closing a transaction. That would be working with the marketing. That would be putting up a sign, key box, that's inputting stuff on the MLS. See, most real estate agents spend the majority amount of their time in this category. The high producing real estate agents spend their time in A and B. So to get to the point that we can delegate the C, we need to do more in A and B. So we need to build our schedule. So a schedule should look like this. A schedule should be built typically in the morning. Why do we do it in the morning? It's because if we do it in the afternoon, a lot of times we don't get to it. But let me ask you this. Is your business proactive where you're out creating the business all the time, or is it reactive? Most real estate agents, most loan officers are reactive. They're reacting to what has happened instead of proactive. If I did 1 hour in the morning prospecting in a block, and I did another hour in the morning prospecting in a block, and I did the third one, lead follow-up, and I started at 8 o'clock, so I prospect from 8 to 10, and then from 10 to 11, I did my lead follow-up, and I had those 3 hours in every single morning. Would my business be proactive or reactive? Of course, it'd be proactive. If I asked you, how'd you feel at 11 o'clock? Hopefully, you would say accomplished. Every once in a while, I get somebody who says tired. Well, that's not the right answer, of course. So I'm going to show you my schedule here. This is an example of a schedule. So if you're watching this in a video, you'll notice that there's 4 colors in my schedule. And the 4 colors in my schedule is my morning routine, which is my blocks here. And the reason why I use 1-hour blocks versus a 2-hour block for prospecting is because if I can't make one of the appointments, I can easily drag one of the appointments to another spot. Because if I'm going to say I'm going to do 10 hours of prospecting a week, I really don't have a choice. I'm doing 10 hours. I just might not be able to do it in that block. So you'll notice the second thing in the schedule is my yellow. Now the yellow, if you're competitive at all, yellow is for you to fill in those blocks. What we're trying to do is in the morning, we're trying to fill all our appointment schedules. But if you did have to move something around, I can move it around inside of the schedule. Now you'll notice my yellow are my appointments, but I notice on my appointments, it says appointments or prospecting. See, if we don't have an appointment, we go back into prospecting because we need to get more appointments. It's one or the other. If I have an appointment, that takes priority in the afternoon. If not, then I just simply go back into prospecting. You'll notice the purple in here, that's like successful in this example right here. There's an appointment that is set. So I change it from yellow to the actual appointment. And the blues, by the way, are the most important color on the calendar because the reason why we work is to fulfill our life, fulfill our families, do things that we want to do. So we don't want to work all the time. When we actually budget time off, it forces us to have efficiencies because all work expands to the time that's allotted. And so therefore, when we schedule time off, we actually become more efficient. Think about it. Whenever you go on vacation, are you busy the day before you go on vacation? Yes, because you have an end date and you have a lot to do. So we create efficiencies in our schedule. So that is what a typical schedule looks like to be highly effective in our business. We have to have more conversations. To have more conversations, we need to build a schedule that supports the conversations. We understand that A activities are the things that we make money at. And that's listing appointments, that's buyer appointments, and that's negotiating contracts. And B is lead follow-up and prospecting. We need to build that into our schedule, so that's what we're concentrating. Eventually, you'll make enough money that you can hire out all the C activities, and therefore, you can double the amount of time that you spend on your A and B, and quite frankly, you'll double your income. Business is actually very easy if we concentrate on keeping it simple. Contacts equal contracts, and build your schedule to support contacts. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This is David Thompson with David Thompson 360 Podcast.